auto podemos or not?
Oh, you got an office?
Nah, I'm just saying.
This is Sip and Discuss. I am Michelle Mosley.
And I'm Khalida Hunter.
And this is a podcast for Black and Brown folks. A safe place for us to have discussions that matter to us. No topic is off limits. This is a judgment-free zone. So tonight we have on with us Miss Rachel Jackson. What's
Hello.
up? What's up?
Hi.
She is the creator of the African American Project and also a recent graduate of, you have to say the name of your college.
Washington Adventist University in Maryland. Gang gang, DMV. I rep the DMV, but I'm from Jersey, so.
So what did you major in? What did you graduate with?
I graduated with a degree in music and a minor in psychology.
Nice. How was that journey?
It was interesting. It was hard and very kind of drawn out, but I made it. I made it through.
4 years.
Yeah, 4.5 years.
4.5
years.
Good for you though that you was able to stick with
endure.
something for 4 years.
Yeah.
And you were a studier, from what mom said.
From what mom says, but I feel like parents always like to hype their kids up and stuff.
Tonight we're going to discuss just touch on what the African American Project is that you're starting. And we are also going to discuss your results from Ancestry.com.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what we're going to discuss. Start us off with just letting us know what is the African American Project and what made you want to come up with it.
Yeah, so the African American Project is basically kind of like an independent research project that I'm doing that seeks to uplift African American culture, ancestry, family history, and to unite the African diaspora. And I kind of had been thinking about these topics for a while. I just didn't know really how to concise them into one kind of project. But for all of my life, I've identified as African American. But a lot of my Black friends and stuff like that, they identified as other, Jamaican, Nigerian, Ghanaian, whatever the case may be. And that always kind of not always, but as I got older, it started to make me kind of think, are there any other African Americans around me? It made me kind of feel sometimes left out because these cultures are very strong and proud and who they are, which is totally fine, which is totally okay. But it always kind of seemed as I got older, Black people almost had a desire to be identified as something other than Black. It was cool to say oh, I'm Black, but I have some of this in my background, or oh, I have a little bit of that, and
Indian in my family,
or just different stuff, or I feel Cuban and blah blah blah. Which again, if that if that is the case, then of course be proud and who you are. But it just started making me think can't we just proud to be Black or whatever? And I never really heard African Americans proudly proclaim I am African American and say that proudly. And then of course getting older, having conversations with other people, stuff comes up as African Americans don't have a culture, or sometimes African Americans are kind of seen as a little bit less than in the African diaspora. And I was just I'm tired of it. I am African American. I'm proud to be African American, and I feel the African diaspora as a whole needs to be more cohesive, and we need to lift each other up instead of trying to be oh, my culture's better than yours, or my culture has this, blah, blah, blah. We're all unique, and we all have things that we can bring to the diaspora equally. We don't have to pit one another against each other. So that's kind of just what my project is about.
It's funny because I didn't really understand or think about it until my little sister, she's my little sister, brought it up at our first Juneteenth celebration that we did at dinner, and you were talking about the African American culture. Like, it's a real culture. Like, we have our own culture. And I was just like, wow, we do, you know? And because I've always had people, like, when I said I'm African American, I've had some black people look at me like, you sound stupid by saying you're African American. Like, why do you have to put American on it? And I always felt like, well, because I am from America. Like, even though it is, like, this country is fucked up, you know what I mean? And we do, but everywhere is kind of fucked up. But at the end of the day, I also feel like this is where I was born, and this is the place that my ancestors built. So at the end of the day, no matter how fucked up our history is and how we got here, this is my land because my ancestors built it. Whether you want to admit it or not, they built it. So yes, I am African American. It might sound stupid to you, and I'm sorry that it does sound stupid to you. I let someone take that away from you.
Exactly. And, you know, sometimes people feel a type of way about identifying as African American. Sometimes there's like a little bit of pushback in the black term, which I can understand to an extent as well. Sometimes black people like identifying as Black American. So I use them kind of interchangeably. If somebody wishes to be identified as Black American, you know, that's fine. If they choose to be identified as African American, that's fine as well. I think sometimes people, or black people, don't like being identified as African American because they feel as though they have no connection with Africa. And they're like, oh, well, like, I'm black, but I'm like American. I don't really know anything about Africa, so I can't really like identify with that. For me personally, I do identify as African American because whether I presently know anything about Africa or not, I can't deny that that's like, yeah, that's a part of like who I am. Like, that's literally where like my ancestors, whether it was 500 years or 1,000 years ago, are from. Like, it's in my DNA. And I feel like Black American kind of negates that African side of you. And I don't really want to do that for me personally. I want to always remember and identify with that like African part of me. That's why I identify as African American. But, you know, to each their own. So
yeah, I remember Chris used to discuss that as well. Like, he could never deny, even though he was Cuban and you look at him and you see Cuban, but he could not deny the fact that great grandmothers, because he knew his family tree, were African. Like, they were black. So it was like, I can't just like totally just be like, hey, ain't no black in me. Like, it's evident that that it's there. I'm so proud of you for being able to identify and come up with this all on your own, and being proud of being like, that's one thing that I've admired about you guys. Because I know me growing up, I grew up in the era where there weren't a lot of black dolls, there wasn't a lot of black representation on television, you know what I mean? We just discussed like how I didn't even realize how it was so great that Brandy
existed.
Yes, and we took it for granted growing up, but now as an adult looking back, like, there was a girl who was so popular on television that looked just like me. And my cousin even had to point out to the fact that she even wore braids all the time. So for us, it was like, I think it was a little bit different for me growing up. I never felt ashamed to be black, but just, it took me a while to get into the whole for the people. You know what I mean? Like, the black crowd or whatever. But so that's great. So what is it called on Instagram? How people can follow your project and what you'll be doing?
You can follow us at the African American Project on Instagram, and that's like one word, the African American Project. And the page is kind of just a way for me to put all of like my research and thoughts into like one place so that it's not like all over the place. I do like something called like Notable African Americans, where I identify like celebrities who identify themselves as African Americans, because I think that's an important aspect of this project as well. Trying to bring about pride in our community in knowing that successful African Americans are out there, and just knowing that they are African American, because a lot of times I feel like African Americans and African American like celebrities just kind of get lumped into the category of black in general, and I kind of just want to make that distinction, that's a distinction, that they are African American blacks. So you can be like, oh, like just kind of evoking a sense of community and like pride within this culture, and yeah, just stuff like that. I am conducting like some interviews here and there. I interviewed my cousin TJ a while ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and I am interviewing people who identify as African American and just asking them a series of questions about the culture and what they think about their culture, and just a whole bunch of different questions that I will be uploading to the page as well, and just kind of inspiring some dialogue as well. Like, you can always feel free to comment on my posts and stuff like that. I'll probably be like putting some prompts with the snippets of the interviews on there as well. So yeah, just different stuff that I'll be posting on there.
Y'all know I feel a little special because that's my sister. You know, I helped raise her.
I mean, I guess.
Alright, so we are also talking about your results.
Yes.
So, first of all, disclaimer, like, I want to say this just to get this out of the way. So she's gonna read her results, and I only bring this up because we are doing ancestral. Like, if we weren't doing this, then I would never bring this up. I always say I do not consider this my half sister, because we grew in the same place. Mm-hmm. We just got to that place in different vehicles. So we don't have the same father, but we do have the same mother. But I would honestly, if it wasn't for what we were doing, I would never disclose that information to anybody.
Because it's y'all business.
Yeah, it ain't y'all business, and that's my sister.
That's your sister.
Yeah, like, I don't believe in half.
We don't do half sisters. Mm-hmm. We don't do half brothers.
No.
You're either a sibling or you're not.
True.
Yes. Right on. Rock it. That's how we go over here. But because of the contents, what are we doing here today? We just want to say that. And then you also. You can explain it. I want you to even touch on the fact that how you explained to me that even if we did have the same parents, it still could be
like different DNA. Because we're not like twins, and we do have different like fathers. Like, even my sister, my full sister, she still wants to take like a DNA test, and I think that's like that is worth her doing, because we don't have the exact same DNA. Sure, like the results might be like similar, but it won't be exactly the same. So I think it's like
so interesting to me that it won't be the same.
It won't be like exactly the same. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Khalida, did you ever want to do that, or have you done it?
Actually, I've never done it, but my brother did do it. My brother that lives in New York, and found out that he had a cousin that literally lived 2 blocks away from him that he ended up meeting up with. But that's because, like, on my dad's side, like, I come from a huge family on my dad's side. My dad has 9 siblings, and then all of them have, like, my dad himself has 13 kids. So then we start getting into, like, my first cousins. I have 48 first cousins. So would it be worth it for me to do it? Probably.
Yeah.
But did I ever? I have a reasoning behind not wanting to do ancestry, not anything to do with finding out who I'm related to, but just for my own personal reasons why I don't want to give my DNA. Not that I'm a criminal.
Well, that was the thing with me. I always entertained the thought of it, and just recently when discussing with my sisters, I was like, I don't know if I want to do it, because I don't know if I want them to have my DNA. But then you brought up a point, like, well, have you ever given blood, like, for test results and stuff like that? So, like, they kind of already have access to your blood. So if they really wanted to do something,
I feel like at this point, like with all the information that we like give, whether it's through our phones or through like doctor visits and stuff like that or whatever, like I feel like the government has as much of our information as they could like possibly want, whether we know about it like or not.
I like to think that HIPAA though protects us a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
like in my
the same country that steals people. Right.
I feel like if
These motherfuckers steal people.
if it's the right person with the right dollar amount, then I feel like if they really wanted it,
Yeah.
they could probably
They can
get
They
it.
can get it.
Like,
And
that's
HIPAA
not
ain't
really-
protected us, bro. Shit.
Right.
They still.
I would
organs.
like to think that.
You would like to think that. That's nice. It's the same thing as like
Right.
Aunt Stacy when I told her about something. She says, "Not our government. Our government wouldn't lie to us." Like, where have you been for the past?
Forever.
Yes. Did you miss the whole? They gave them syphilis and all types of
Right.
stuff. Like, let's get back to this. We are revealing. Now, I don't know the result. She hasn't showed me. She hasn't showed Khalida. It's going to be interesting. I'm like excited about it too. I am going to do my own now that we've had that discussion about the government probably already has all they need to. And it's a thing like also, did you ever watch the movie about the lady who the lady who died of ovarian cancer, the first
Right.
black woman, like,
So they're still using her cells now.
yeah, so stuff like that is like scary as well.
Right.
And then like her family got no money,
Wow.
No compensation.
no
whatsoever.
compensation. This woman has probably went on to save how many lives and
Countless.
lives and done all this research and so stuff like that does bother me because if they find out that you're a certain blood type or you have this or you're related to this one from down
Well,
here,
that's what they're doing now. They're using, this ancestry thing to find, solve cold case mysteries.